bald guys with Rancher Rhyme. Two bald guys with Rancher Rhyme. Two bald guys with Rancher Rhyme.
A long winded Monday morning, time to rise and shine. Want some motivation? Well, I know a few guys with the internet connection. 216 is on. Tune in. The two bald guys with Rancher Rhyme. Introducing Coach Papa Tim Stewart's his name. He's a master with the pen in the poetry game. He wants to see a better world and he plays his part. Always loving, always giving, cause he's got a big heart. The co-host won't boast, but he can stand on his own. From the state of Iowa, it's the man Ken Jones. He's impressive on the mic and he don't need a cord. Whether hosting or he's hooping, he's controlling the boards. And the one feeding the hungry herd around the world with timely observation, dropping nuggets and pearls. Though he's not a city slicker, he's as cool as the Fonz. It's the witty wisdom giver, Mr. Rancher Rhyme. Set the tone for your week. 216 is on. Tune in to Two Bald Guys with Rancher Rhyme.
Good Monday morning, everybody. Two bald guys and a microphone here, live from the, high atop the Tunyon Towers here in McHenry. A great morning to be alive. I tell you what, a lot of good things happening in the month of July, and summer is in full swing, especially right around here in the McHenry land area. This is the new series, I guess. Coach and I have decided that every 4 to 6 weeks we're going to end up doing like a little mini series on a topic, and this topic is the power of no, N-O-W. So with and let me take care of some business first right away. We want to give a shout out to our good friends Natural Therapy Wellness Center. Of course, without them, this show can't do what it does. Massage therapy, reflexology, acupuncture, you name it. If you need a little relaxation or stress relief, give them a call at 815-385-8190. Check them out at www.mchenrymassage.com. www.mchenrymassage.com. Let me see what I can do there, Tim. Let me just do this. Might be the easiest way to get you in here remotely. Here you go. Let's do that. If you just want to copy that link, my friend, put that right in. You know how to do it anyway. So the big thing is we want to start doing a little mini series, topical things. And what we're talking about now is the power of no, N-O-W, not K-N-O-W, but N-O-W. It is a huge word that can have a lot of good of no. N-O-W. Got a big loop there, brother. All right, I think it's gone now. How are you?
Good morning.
Good morning from the remote studios over in Johnsburg, Illinois. Good morning.
It's the other bald guy, or at least the bald guy undercover.
That's right. Shana, good morning. Glad to have you with us. So, wielded wisely, no, N-O-W, is an instrument of integrity and a shield against exploitation. Often takes courage to say. It's extremely hard to receive, but setting limits really frees us, right? Gives us a lot of freedom, and it frees us. There comes a moment, Coach, when you say, "Don't call me," and you finally mean it, right? It's just when you return that quote unquote charming gift because you forced yourself to acknowledge its invisible strings. When you turn down a friend's request is very hard for a helping hand, a colleague's plea for immediate advice, even your teenage kid's expectation that dinner will just magically appear before them. All because you have goals of your own from which you refuse to be deflected. And I think if you understand your limits, no, the word N-O is a very freeing and powerful word to help you get to where you need to get.
I had a coach several years ago when I was in the financial industry, and one of the things she told me has stuck to me for a long time because I was terrible at saying no. And that's every time you say yes to one thing, you're automatically saying no to something else. And as full as our schedules are today, with everything going on in our life and in our world, uh, that no is to your family. So if I say, yeah, sure, I'll come over and help you dig your garden, I'm saying no to taking my wife out to dinner. If I'm saying yes to this, I'm saying no to hanging out with my grandkids. And it becomes a piece, and it was a powerful recognition for me that I had to slow down because for me, the opportunity to serve someone was always my language of love.
Mm-hmm.
And I get an opportunity to serve, but I take away something from my family every time I do. And so
But do you?
learning to say no really became an important part of our family relationship, and bringing home whatever this opportunity is to my mom and learning to say, uh, let me think about that, or let me pray about that before I give you an answer. Uh,
Okay.
really,
So let me let me bounce that back to you and say, take a look at your kids are all grown. You've got grandchildren who are some have graduated. So that you not saying no, did it really take away a lot from your family, or did it take away selfishly from your family time? Because if I take a look at your kids, you set a really good example for them, and they are all pretty decent people who like to help out their fellow human as well.
but yeah, but there's a line you have to draw sometimes, and I still serve people. I still say yes, maybe sometimes more than I ought. But at the same time, you have to weigh it out, and you have to include, at least for me, I have to include them, especially my wife, in the decision. When we decided to relaunch Two Ball Guys and a Microphone, I was super excited about it right away. But I said, let me talk to April, and
Uh-huh.
you know, make sure everything's okay, and you do the same thing. Let me check in with Alice because
Hmm.
we've done that. So it takes away family time, but you also have to weigh it out. Is it just helping a buddy, move uh, into a new house, or is it helping someone raise money for cancer? I mean, you have to take the time, but the important thing is learning to take that time and not just say yes right away. To do a little discernment and say, hey, is this the right thing to do?
Well, why have we here in America um, made no a negative word? It's not a negative word, right? It's a positive word. Listen, your baby, your infant, right? What's the statistic, Coach? By the time you're 18 months old, you've heard no 10 million times. What?
Yeah, well, it's like, yeah, it's a lot.
Right? And and just that programming right there tells we start instilling people no is negative. Well, if that infant's going to do something that hurts itself, no is a very positive, very, very positive word. Yet we're so afraid of the negative feeling that somebody may get or we may get when we hear no, that we don't understand it's a positive word. So let me ask you this: how much in all the games that you've ever played, how much have you learned from winning as opposed to how much have you learned from losing?
Well, that's, and we talk about that all the time. You never coach to lose, but all 90% of your lessons are learned from the loss.
Mhm.
There's a lot of truth to that.
Yeah. Hey, Shayna, good morning. Shayna says boundaries, not barriers, and how to know the difference is sometimes difficult to discern. No is the most liberating word when used to be more authentic. resentment follows commitments you don't want to make. Yes, exactly. And I think it is. No is an extremely liberating word. And I think it's a very positive word. You can't be very liberating if it's not positive in my eyes. And the interesting thing is how you feel about the word no. And let's go today for the rest of this time. Let's just tackle the receiving end of it. Okay, so that you get the word no. Coach, you give me a call. You're like, hey, I can't. Can you come over, help me move a pool table? Whatever. I don't know. We would just make something up. And I say no. How does that make you feel?
I've got other friends. I don't need you. But no, I'm okay with it. That's never bothered me when somebody else says no.
Never.
And I can't remember a time when it did.
Okay. So nothing. You, no. You get 4 no's from let's just say a guy named Frank. You get 4 no's in a row. Hey, hey, let's get together. No. 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 Do you ever then go, hey, anything wrong?
Yeah, I have. And
so it does bother you.
The no is not as big a problem as the yes, but they just don't show up.
Right.
Oh, sure, I'll be there, but and boy, if I had that happen throughout the course of my life, that has a tendency to bother me. If you can't make it, or if you can't do something, just say it. Like,
sure. But let's go back to that situation again. You say, hey, no's don't bother me. Well, after 4, you say, hey, man, is everything okay? Obviously, something's bothering you with that no.
I'm concerned for the individual.
Why?
Because there may be something going on that I'm not aware of. Maybe I did something to hurt their feelings, but they didn't say anything to me about it. They just stopped showing up. And without a conversation, that you don't know that. So the conversation, it
does bother us. So the word no does bother us.
At some level, yes.
Yeah, especially when it comes from people that we absolutely love and people that are absolutely close. And when that happens, the question is why? Why does all of a sudden, what is it in our brain, or what synapses are connecting saying, man, coach has said no now for the last 3 weeks that I've asked, to do this, that, or third. I wonder what's going on with him. I think there's a piece of our own insecurity there. Yeah. And instead of just going, okay, bro, next time, whatever, it's cool. Right.
Well, especially if you're asking somebody on short notice, you got to understand that people have lives, they have plans. We're all busy. But if you've asked something out, thank you, Shana. That is, we suffer more in our imagination. I think that kills us, because I really watch my wife go through that a lot of times. And I'm like, just call and ask. Find out what's going on. I mean, this morning my plan was to be in the studio this morning, and I didn't show up. Well, I woke up during the middle of the night, and evidently I silenced my phone.
Yeah.
So my alarm didn't go off, but I was really something really strange happened in the middle of the night last night, and I didn't sleep. And then as you know, normally I don't sleep.
Monday night,
anyway.
That's right.
But it's like, my first thought was, I got to get in the car and get there. And then I'm like, wait a minute, we have StreamYard.
That's right.
You can recover from this quickly.
That's right. Big shout out to StreamYard for helping us out. Yeah, I like what Shana says too. So much is not is as personal as we think. Right. So the whole idea of the word no is usually when somebody wants something and the other person doesn't want to reciprocate or be part of it. And the unfortunate thing is that in society, as a society, we don't say, I'm saying no because it doesn't fit with my goals.
Yeah.
Okay, what I say is, Coach, no, I'm headed to the Cubs game with Glenn. Right?
Mhm.
Like, oh, well, that's more important than doing something with me. I mean, those are the little conversations in the back of our brains that we have, and those are the things then, as Shana says, rolls into our imagination, and now we start creating stories. Oh well, geez, okay, all right, cool, and then I talk myself into it. You know what? I'm happy for Coach. He's going to the. Why not? If I had an opportunity to go to the Cubs game, I would too. Glenn's a great guy. Why didn't Glenn, ask me? I don't know, but okay. And then, hey, Coach, we've got. We've got the Damn Yak Challenge coming up here this weekend, which is going to be great. Is it okay if I use your kayak? And you say no, and I'm like, geez, he's not even going to be around. Why can't I use his kayak? What is going on with this guy? Well, and then I don't go any further a lot of times, and neither do people when they respond. It may be no because, well, we're taking the kayaks with us because we're going to be, in this portion of Arkansas or wherever, I don't know, and we want to do some kayaking. But a lot of times we don't go further to explain, here's the reason why I'm telling you no. Okay. Interesting is that I have challenged myself this year to not drink alcohol. I'm not an addict. I never had an issue, never had a problem, was never a huge drinker. It was just a mind challenge to see if I could do it. Well, here I am, 6.5 months in, and absolutely haven't had a drop of alcohol. So I can say no, and a lot of people are like, what, whoa. But then I have to explain to them my challenge. And still a lot of the neighbors and people are like, you still doing that thing? Yeah, it was for the whole year. I'm 6.5 months in. So when we say no, it always seems there has to be a grand explanation that follows. Why?
Well, to be clear, before I go into that, I did say yes on the kayak, and it'll be under my deck when you pull up, and you'll be able to get it and go have a great time with the Damn Yak.
I haven't signed up for the race.
Oh, you didn't? Well, it's. Do you want me to put it out? I mean, it's up to you.
No.
You can say no if you want to.
Yeah, I will say no. Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
Because as much as I would love to, I know there's just a lot of things going on this weekend. I won't be able to.
Okay. And going back to what Shana said earlier, is we start playing these stories in our head without knowing, and those stories are based off previous experience. At some point, if we've ever had a no to something that meant a lot to us, that is stuck with us.
Yeah.
And so we self-define it, and then the conversations in our head start up, and when they start up, Katie, bar the door, because
right. Yeah, because they're just stories that we've created in our own minds. Shannon says, I hope to get to the level where I can say no without feeling the need to justify it to anyone. It's so true. When that happens, I think we've been able to share what our goal is. Right, we've been able to share what our purpose is in whatever we're doing, and it is how we use the word NO, and if we use it in line with our in line with our personal mission statement, in line with our personal vision, in line with our personal goals, then it can be very, very easy to just say no. The reason that I believe we feel like we need to give somebody an explanation on the back end of that is that to justify that no is we've all dealt with the 3-year-old. Can I have a cookie? No. Why? Because why? So inevitably in our programming and our programming from a child, we knew that if we continued to ask why, then we'd break grandma down, or we'd break grandpa down, or we'd break mom or dad down, whatever the case may be. And on the other side, as an adult, if I say no to you, I have because I said so. Well, because I said so is not necessarily a reason. The reason is I would love to tell you the reason why, but you're a child and you're not going to understand. So I need to say, because I said so. We're only 30 minutes away from lunch. You don't need to have a cookie right now because you can have a cookie when you're finished with your lunch, whatever the case may be. But we don't justify that with anybody that taught us why we feel bad saying no.
Yeah, and it's interesting you say that. You haven't experienced this side of it yet, but as a grandparent, it's more. There is more justification. No, we're having lunch in 20 minutes. We'll have a cookie after lunch. As a parent, we sometimes get so busy that we're doing so many things trying to put that cookie on the table. And you just don't appreciate the fact of how hard I worked to put that cookie on the table. And it gets to the point of because I said so. But in about 2 hours, I will have a 3 and a 5-year-old here. And I get to experience the grandparent side of no. But kids are more understanding than you think. And when you explain why, they get it.
Yeah.
But we as young parents, that when this baby comes along, it doesn't come with an instruction manual. Under paragraph 17, when you say no, give a short explanation and everything will be fine.
Yeah. Well, let's fast forward now. Let's fast forward to your professional life. Okay. And you're not an entrepreneur. You're actually working for someone, and your boss, the person that you report directly to, says, "Hey, Tim, I need you to boppity bop by tomorrow." Now, it doesn't go. It does not go with your goals or what you're currently working on as well. However, you go, I can't say no. That person's my boss.
Yeah.
Why?
In your mind, your position depends on it. When, growing up in my working years in the military, when a boss asked, when your commander asked, it was an implied order, the way we talked about it. So if he asked you, you did it. And if you didn't do it, at least without telling him why you didn't do it, there could be consequences for that.
You think so? Again, you're back. Right. You're back in your mind.
Your stories in your mind.
Yeah. Shana says, in the wild, I can find fun in debating all types of topics. LOL. The one answer that shuts me down is because I don't want to. Mic drop, nowhere to go. Yeah.
But can you
So
say that to a boss?
Can you say that to your boss? And yes, I don't think I, I think it has to be followed with a caveat of that goes against what I'm working or what we've been working towards
Yeah.
or what we're trying to accomplish here. And you can't always say no to your boss because they have a job. Usually, if you're finding yourself always saying no, you're either in the wrong position or they're having a hard time explaining the need for you to do that and how it falls in line with everything that you're doing. And I think that's important when it comes to your employer. I think you have to have a healthy, before I respond to that, let me see what's on my agenda. Let me see how this works
Yeah.
with what I'm doing. Is it viable? Is it not viable? What do I have going on? Can I shovel things around to make it happen? And does it still support my end goal? Right.
Well, I think a lot depends on what type of position it is also.
Mhm.
I mean, if I'm a vice president talking to the president of the company, I may have some power to say no. A lot easier than if I'm a line employee in a factory. And no, I don't want to take the garbage out. Excuse me. Uh, there's got to be some clarity as to what type of position
Yeah.
you're working in.
Yeah. And Shannon says, yes, you can always tell your boss no on your last day.
Even if it wasn't your planned last day.
That's right. Of course, you're listening to 21.6 and that. This is Two Bald Guys and a Microphone. And we got to thank our good friends over at Natural Therapy Wellness Center, www.mchenrymassage.com, 815-385-8190, for their support and the support of the station for all these years. Absolutely love them. Great stuff. We're discussing in this series, this is part one, the power of no, N-O. In the fact that if you want to get anywhere in life, if you want to succeed in life, if you want to have healthy relationships in life, you have to be willing to say no. More importantly, and perhaps we'll talk a little bit more about this next week, is you have to be willing to receive the word no. We don't. Okay. There are people who say yes, to your point, Coach, and don't mean it because they are so afraid of the word no. Yeah, I'll be there, buddy. You got it. And then I ghost you. Hey, yeah, I got you. I'll get that over to you momentarily. And 3 weeks later, you're like, hey, you gonna give me that? You gonna give me that logo? What's going on? You know? Oh, yeah. Okay. I have learned to when people ask now, I have learned to say, okay, before I answer that, let me look at my calendar and see what I have going on. If I have something going on, I'll let you know. If I don't have anything going on, it shouldn't be a problem. But I'm going to get back with you. I'm not going to answer that right now. Or if we're together, I may just pull up my phone and take a look at the calendar. Now, what I've also learned to say is, absolutely, Coach, I'll be there for you if it doesn't interfere with anything else that I have going on.
That's more important than you.
Right. Because that's the truth.
Mm-hmm.
I've got a good friend from lifelong friend and their son just graduated college, their oldest son, and they were in town, and I was like, oh, hey, sorry, I missed you guys. You know, you look great. And they're like, hey, we got to get together, either, you know, down in the Ozarks, or swing over to Kansas City. And I said, man, there's nothing I would love more. But you know, this was in May, late May, early June, and I said, there's really nothing I'd love more. However, I've got to take a look at basketball schedules. I got to take a look at radio station schedules. I have to take a look at. I'm not trying to blow you off. I'm just trying to say I've got a ton going on. I'm sure you do too, right? Yeah. And so we've just kind of been batting around. Give me a couple dates and where you're going to be, when you're going to be, and I'll see if I can work it in. So we've been kicking that around. It looks like maybe in August we might be able to get together for a long weekend. But I don't feel bad saying no. I haven't said no. I also haven't said yes, right? Because life happens, you know, and we have to be able to deliver a no, deliver a yes. Last thing I want to say is yes, and then never happen.
Yeah.
Or yeah, hey, let's do it on the July 4th weekend. And of course I can't make it. I know I can't. And you know, how horrible is that? I don't know.
Well, and when you say yes, and it's really more of a definite maybe, and as it gets closer now, a day ahead of time, you have to call and say the no. It's better to know in front than to wait until, you know, the last moment. A friend of mine was a really good speaker. I love this guy. At the end of his talk, he'd say, you know, at the beginning of his talk, he'd say, I want you to take out a business card and lay it down in front of you. I'll collect those later. I don't want them right now because we're going to do something with them. And at the end of his talk, he said, okay, I want you to turn your business card over, or someplace where you're right on it. I want you to write a Y, an N, and a TIO. Yes, if yes, you want me to call you and follow up with you. No, you never want to hear from me or see me again. And TIO means think it over. You want to take some time and think it over before we get together.
Mm-hmm.
And then he had said, you know, as everybody did it good. Now he said, I want you to take it and write a circle around the TIO and run a line through it, just like the no smoking sign or the no left turn sign. He says, because if you have to think it over, that's as good as a no for me, and that's okay. I don't want to bother you if you don't want to be bothered, but just give me the yes or the no, and I'm okay with either. And I'd love to have a conversation with you, but at the end of the day, don't tell me you want to think it over, because that's almost always going to be, you know, a no. So let's just get it out of the way right up front.
Yeah.
And I always admired that transparency that he would put out there, because there's been times where I've said yes without looking at my calendar,
Mm-hmm.
and then I have to call out and say, you know, or even worse, the day comes and then the calendar pops up and says, oh no, you got to be here. You've got a doctor's appointment at the VA. You can't meet this person over here.
Yeah.
And you know, that stings more, I think, than just the no right up front.
Absolutely. Shannon says an employer may step outside of the job description once, sure, twice. Now is your responsibility to address why the no is necessary. Lines blur fast, especially if you have a good working relationship. Give me a cup of coffee might not be appropriate if it's an expectation. Yeah, absolutely. Do you make it easy for other people to say no? That's a great question.
I have seen, and you know, we've all experienced that that manager starts getting a little bit uppity in their ways and thinking that they have the right to ask anything of an employee. And I think I was pretty good at that in my management days, but I think there are also times where, you know, you just get super busy and you're like, hey, if you're headed to the coffee room, would you bring me a cup back? I'm swamped here and I really need a cup of coffee. And I think that's okay, but just on a regular basis. Hey, Kent, grab me a cup of coffee, would you? Hey, Kent, grab me a egg McMuffin on your way in. I didn't have breakfast today, uh, and that.
Yeah, I mean, tonality is a big thing, right? And it all depends on relationships. But to Shayna's point, do you make it easy for people to say no to you?
I guess I don't know.
That's a great question, and there are a lot of people out there. A lot of people who are charming. A lot of people who are have just great personalities, who can be passive as well to make you feel like crap if you say no to them. So there are people who are that way. Yeah, I just can't say no to that guy, right? You have a granddaughter, perhaps, or a grandson, perhaps, that you just can't say no to.
Or another part of my family organization can't say no to, which relates to
Right.
I can't say no either.
All right.
Yeah.
That's true. It all depends on how you set it up, right? So it's like a volleyball game.
Yep.
Oh, Coach, I'd really love to say yes. However, I have to say no.
Yeah.
Or no, I ain't got time for that shit. Right? I mean, there's so much in the way that we deliver the no. It's the same way as saying, "Oh, yeah, I'll do it," or "Yeah, I'll do it." Right? So there's a lot in there. Wow. The word no is really an affirmation of self implicity. It acknowledges personal responsibility. It says that while each of us interacts with others and loves, respects, and values those relationships, we do not and cannot allow ourselves always to be influenced by them. The strength we draw from saying no is that it underscores the hard truth of maturity. Hey, the buck stops here. No is both the tool and the barrier by which we establish and maintain the distinct perimeter of the self. No says, this is who I am, this is what I value, this is what I will and will not do, this is how I will choose to act. It's very interesting. Of course, that's from a blurb from Psychology Today. Those aren't necessarily my words, but it does really define. It goes back to what Shayna said earlier this morning. It goes back to, these are my boundaries. This is who I am. I don't falter on that. And the problem with a lot of people in the world today is, because we can't say no, this is where everybody's so angry at each other all the time. This is where social media becomes just oh my gosh, I have to comment on this. If I don't like it, hey, did you see my post? Did you see my post, Coach? You didn't like it. You didn't comment on it. That is now I feel like I have to go on and I have to comment and I have to give you my opinion, when I could just go, nope, not going to comment on that one. Keep scrolling. Nope, not going to do that. So social media has allowed us to, as Psychology Today says, it has blurred our distinct perimeter of self. It's taken it and it's like a whiteboard, just squirted a little water on it, and that's it. And so social media has made it even harder to say no, has made it even harder to not get our feelings hurt if we are told no.
there's there's a lot of truth to that. And why do our feelings get hurt? Uh, it's going back to what Shana said. I think we just too much stuff going on here. And then you have the old guilt trip too. Oh, that's okay. I'll move these boxes by myself. I won't be able to walk tomorrow, but you just you go off and kayak and have your fun while I'm over here working.
Yeah.
And but I think that's driven by the insecurity that you're just talking about. That why do people always say no to me? Well, maybe you're asking too much, or maybe there's something going on there that's deeper, bigger than we know. We have this trip. We're leaving actually tomorrow for Tennessee, and there's a lot that we do up here. We're going to be gone for almost 4 weeks. With some of my clients, I had to tell them, you know what? Yeah, we'll have we'll meet on a phone call or a Zoom call. With others, it's like, you know what? Why don't we just take a break for the month? And what's the deciding factor between who am I going to take a break with? Who am I going to meet with the hour on the phone to give up time with whatever I'm doing off in the wilds of Tennessee and Texas? And there's got to be some thought going into that. Where is the client at in our progression? Some of them, I'd like to see it, take a month off and then come back together, and then they'll see how important I am in their world, or maybe they might find out they don't need me as much anymore in the relationship. So, but I've had to use those no's, but they come along with that explanation. This is where I'm going to be. This is what I'm going to be doing. This is family time. When we were talking about topics coming in for the weekend, no was one of them, but the second one is family first always. Can you do that?
Yeah.
And that's I think for me, again, as a grandparent, and you as a coach probably noticed this a lot of times. One or the other parent is at the game. The mom or the dad is at the game, and sometimes no parents are at the game.
Mm-hmm.
But both grandparents are almost always at the game, or sometimes all four grandparents, both the mom's parents and the dad's parents, are at the game. And I think that comes down to we as grandparents really understand more the importance of family and family time. We leave tomorrow, and I have one last chance to see James play basketball tonight, and I rescheduled things to make sure I could. And it's
because you can't say no.
Because I can't say no. No, because I love watching him play basketball. That's purely selfish.
That's if that's the excuse you want to give yourself. So the interesting thing is we are not taught. Growing up, we used to have vocabulary words, right? Remember, you do spelling, you do vocabulary where you had to know the meaning, words, things of that nature. And we are never taught really the psychological piece of no, right? Again, this is who I am. This is what I value. This is what I will and will not do. This is how I will choose to act. So if we're doing something and you say no, I'm not taught that word. I'm taught that word no means no to me, your friend. When really you're saying no, I'm stepping outside of my boundaries, and I don't want to. Hey, we're throwing snowballs at cars or whatever, and you say no because that's your personal boundary. This is how you choose to act. And instead, I think that you're saying no to me, and that isn't that we haven't pushed my personal boundary yet. So to me, the word no is, why are you telling me not to go out to the edges of my personal boundaries? Yeah. Instead, I take it personally. Oh, you're a wimp, you sissy. Gosh, come on, man. Right? And instead of understanding that I've now stretched you and pushed you outside of it made you feel bad
Yeah.
for your personal boundaries, because we haven't been taught that the word no is just that. You know, we you always have to know what's at your core, and you need to know the word no to carve and support that space.
Yeah.
And we don't allow ourselves to do that.
Has anybody ever told you you're a wise and knowledgeable individual?
No.
Although there's a reason for that.
Yeah, that's right. There's a big reason for that. Yeah, sometimes no is an
Yeah.
invitation to clarify your pitch, though.
Well, in the world, world of saying, I mean, there's a guy who wrote a book and made $1 million off of, I think it was titled "Go for No,"
Yeah.
and that no normally means not right now in the world of sales. But I think it's all the context you're using on it. Is it telling that 3-year-old not put their finger in the fire, or is it no, I don't want the blue Toyota, I want the red Toyota.
Well, no does mean no. That's why I love that. Just not at this time. That's gotten a lot of people into trouble, and a lot of people are spending time in prison for that. Because yes, it does. Let me keep forcing this on you. The next thing you know, you and I are robbing banks. And you were telling me no. But no, if we understand it, means what you're selling me isn't comfortable to me, isn't in my boundary at this point, or I don't see a need for it in my boundary at this moment. Gary, good evening. Glad to have you with us, brother. Hope your Monday went swimmingly. So the word no means, especially in sales, that I didn't do a good enough job selling you or creating the need for you to say yes. Hey, look at that. Sheila, good morning. Good morning.
Good morning. We are truly all around the world.
Middle of the day, I guess, for you over there, Sheila. I haven't been sufficiently swayed. Yes, exactly. I haven't created the need, haven't got you, haven't been sufficiently swayed in the world of sales. So the word no on a personal level, and that's what maybe next week, that's what we'll dive into, and that's what I'd really like to dive into, is understanding the word no recognizes that we are agents of our own limits. All right.
Yep.
It has two faces. One, we turn toward ourselves, and one that creates boundaries between ourselves and others. And next week, I'd love to dive into that and jump into that about how that creates our boundaries, and to understand that if somebody tells you no, it's not personal. It's
just business.
Well, it's they have boundaries, and they have a life as well. It doesn't fit in with their goals. It doesn't fit in with their dreams, and that's an important thing to know. We are agents of our own limits, and a lot of times we don't fully understand that, or we don't understand what our limits are.
I think a lot of relationships are broken or destroyed because of not setting the right boundaries early enough in the relationship. Whether it's a romantic relationship, whether it's a business partnership, it doesn't matter. Those boundaries are critical. And if we don't take the time to set them, we will blur those boundaries, and eventually it will get us in trouble.
Yeah. But that's a good but understanding that, okay, understanding that no is a person's limits or boundaries, will that help you not have to pick up the phone and go, hey, what's going on, after 4 no's from a guy named Frank?
Yeah, it's I think, especially, you bring up Frank, and we have such a close relationship.
Yeah.
I think, I can normally sense something's up by the first no.
Right.
But when you're talking about a relationship that maybe is not so close, it's just building or growing, or it's always been like a peripheral relationship, and it's obviously starting to fade or go away. You really have to stop and think about: is it something I said? Is it something I did? I mean, you and I had this experience with an individual not that long ago, where I still don't understand what happened, or was it something we did? Was it something that individual was going through? And in the beginning, correct me if I'm wrong, but we probably both had these stories that, going on in our mind of what may have happened. And, continues to be a mystery, but at some point we had to let it go.
Have you?
I believe so. I still, there will be reminders pop up every once in a while.
Sure.
And I'll say a prayer for him. I hope everything's okay. I hope I didn't do something, but I can't dwell on that. I got too many other things I got to finish packing.
The word no is different than ghosting.
Well,
right?
Isn't ghosting just a silent no?
Is it? I don't know. Could be.
Yeah.
But I would say no.
Yeah. Well, you just brought up a good point. I don't know.
Yeah.
Right. And that becomes a problem. What part of no don't you understand? I mean, people have written songs about it, but the importance of being able to say no and accept no are, I think I think you used the word earlier in the show, freeing. When
Yeah.
they can be very freeing. What are you doing on July 14th? I really need you to show up and do this. Well, I can't. I'm in Tennessee. It's no. I
Yeah.
can't be there.
And people are okay with that. Well, you're going to be in Tennessee. I fully understand. However, if you're going to be sitting on your couch,
Yeah.
I don't understand. And then I take it personally. And the understanding now, if in preparing for this show and this series over the next 4 or 5 weeks, and it'll be good. Hopefully we'll have a couple people in too who are experts at no. We'll have some guests in as well, but over the next few weeks, as we dive into this 2-letter word that has so much power and creates limits, the word no, to me, is now, it helps me understand people better. Okay, I have a selfish need that I want you to be, and I think you'll take joy in this, so I want you to be part of it, or help me, or come along with me. And you say no, then that's okay, because you have limits, and maybe you have other things going on. I don't need an explanation on what your no is. You've given me a no, you've given me an answer, and I'm okay with that answer.
Well, but that, I think, goes to the relationship. I mean, obviously there are several times where you've asked me if I can host a show or produce a show when you're out, and our relationship is strong enough now that sorry, I can't.
Right.
Not at that time, not at that day. But if this was more of a newer relationship, and I kept saying no, you just stop asking. Because he always says no. Why should I bother asking?
I don't think that I would.
Okay.
I think that I would, if we've got a relationship, those words, depends. I guess I guess it all depends on what I've been asking. It's like, hey, I've got box seats for the Cubs right behind home plate, and you keep saying no. Then I would think, well, maybe there's something he doesn't like about me, because even if you hate the Cubs, you're like, yeah, I'll go. This is awesome, right?
Well, I do like a hot dog and a beer. Oh,
Right.
no, you're not drinking alcohol. So
Right. You know, an opportunity.
two beers for me.
That's it. That phone call should include, is there something I have done to offend you? A misunderstanding might not be known by both parties. I won't take responsibility for a story I haven't heard yet. Truth.
You know, Shayna could clearly take my spot anytime while I'm on vacation.
I don't know if she's bald.
Well, we can send her one of the bald wigs.
There you go. Yeah.
Well said, Shayna. I really do appreciate your input. You're probably one of the best active listeners we have. So thank you so much for participating. But that's a very good point. Kent, have I done something to offend you?
Several things, but we just keep moving on. That's it. All right. So even though I would love to continue this march on today, we're at the top of the hour. But next week, let's do that. Let's talk about recognizing the word no as agents of our own limits. And let's make sure that we understand that no has two faces. The one we turn toward ourselves, and the one that creates boundaries between ourselves and others. And let's talk about some of those boundaries and some of those things. Let's talk about it in the business world. Let's talk about it in the social media world, and let's talk about it in your personal one-on-ones. But that's where I want to go with that on part 2. And I think we can have show some great stories and techniques of how we turn towards ourselves and the word no that creates those boundaries between ourselves and others. So for all of us here at 21.6, listen, stick around this week. We've got a great new show on Wednesday. Wednesday, we've got it is the Slate Real Talk with Scott Dean. It's going to be the first show here at 21.6 that has to deal all with Hollywood movies and all that backstory. Of course, Scott Dean, the owner of the Drive-In Theater here in McHenry, but has some great connections. This is going to be a show you don't want to miss. That's going to air on Wednesday at 6 p.m. So that's going to run from 6 to 7 on Wednesday, and we are looking forward to that. But come and check that out, because if you want to know what's happening in the world of theater, this is the guy. It's Real Talk with Scott Dean. But tomorrow we've got our good friends. Let me tell you something, brother. Going to have some special guests in studio as well. Some guys who will be making their debut here in a couple weeks on 21.6 The Net as well. We got to get going. It's Monday morning. For all of us here at 21.6 The Net, thanks for getting caught in the net with us. Thank you, Coach, for jumping on. Have safe travels. We'll see you next week remotely again, as you continue to gallivant.
Shayna, Gary, you guys, thanks a lot. Have a great week. Thanks for hanging out with us and getting caught in the net. So this is Tim Stewart. I'm Coach Papa, and I do approve this message that it's time to get off the bench and get back in the game. So peace out.